Good day, and welcome to my presentation on educational history and philosophy, where I'll be discussing my educational philosophy and ethical teaching. My name is Dumelo Ramhumane, but my students call me Teacher Lulu. This video has three segments. In the first one, I share my personal views on education and learning, my educational philosophies, namely progressivism and social constructivism. The second one, I discuss the importance of ethical learning and how it relates to my practice. In the third one, I describe how I handled an ethical dilemma that happened in one of my classes and what I learned from it. Progressivism, that is learning by doing. It is a key component as it fosters problem solving and critical thinking. I plan my projects that the students are involved in that which are relevant to their interests and way of their life, such as going on community explorations, doing experiments, or making art. In order to accommodate various learning styles and capacities, I also use a range of techniques and resources. Here are images that illustrate what I mean in the sense that my students go on community explorations and also are able to do hands-on projects like making art and also using their hands creatively and also making things. So they get to do things that foster their creativity. Two essential elements of progressivism: one, group work and project methods are essential techniques in my classroom. Students can collaborate and cooperate with each other and learn critical skills for working in teams. So in my classroom, I allow for this element of teamwork and cooperation to take place. They can also explore, create, and express their creativity through projects that are relevant and meaningful to their lives and experiences. This is known as project-based learning. As said before when I started, that my curriculum allows for my students to learn the English language through projects, through making, through doing things, and teamwork and communication, and just being overall creative. Social reconstructivism. Social and cultural aspects of learning are important for social constructivism. In my classroom, students and I would work together, listen to one another, and treat each other with dignity and respect. I think it's important for kids to talk to one another, express their thoughts, and get insight from the various points of their peers. I will also include real-world examples of language used in class activities like reading, performances, and games. I would also help my pupils, students, improve their language skills by offering them feedback, examples, and guidance. This is also known as scaffolding. This one is also discussed in great lengths in a review of applied linguistics, and I found it to be very helpful. And because of my students not being able to speak English fluently, we often have to use other methods, such as performances and games, to ensure that they are engaged and are able to enjoy their learning experience, and also to give them confidence in their learning, and to ensure that they're able to express their thoughts and talk to other kids as well. In my classrooms, discussions are quite essential as well, because students have to practice their spoken English. And so they then are able to ask questions, they're able to argue respectfully, they are able to debate. And I create that kind of environment where I respectfully lead the students in a debate that challenges their thinking and reasoning, such as asking them to justify their opinions, consider their different perspectives, and evaluate the consequences of their actions. And also respect the students' opinions and ideas and contributions, and to encourage them to express themselves freely. And as said before, respect is very, very important. So I emphasize a lot on that as well. Ethical learning: use learner-centered instructional strategies that promote social and emotional learning, such as cooperative learning, peer review, debating a topic, and role play scenarios. So this come in handy a lot. So ethical learning is an integral part of the learning process in my classroom. So I have identified bullying because I had an issue with bullying and a lack of cooperation amongst my former students. I was teaching teenagers, and a lot of teenagers struggle a lot with regulating their emotions, self identity, and because of that, a lot of them succumb to peer pressure, and they turn into bullies and deliberately sideline other students. And this affects their work as well, because sometimes they're not able to perform at their best, they're not able to do group assignments, they're not able to cooperate and just ensure that they participate and they have their roles set out clearly in groups because of the issues that they have from bullying. So, having identified bullying as an ethical dilemma, now I'll be discussing the resolving of this ethical dilemma. Bullying is a difficult problem that calls for moral discernment and collective action. As a teacher, I have a responsibility to create a safe and supportive learning environment in which students can interact in a positive and respectful manner. I also have to educate my students on the causes and effects of bullying and help them develop the skills and the values necessary to combat it. And also, in extreme cases where necessary, I might need to involve other stakeholders, such as parents, the school administration, counselors, and authorities. So that is how this ethical dilemma can be resolved. Um, One specific moral dilemma that I faced in my classroom was when I witnessed some of my students bullying and teasing another student, Mary, who had difficulty reading. Mary was a shy and quiet student who had dyslexia, a learning disorder that affects reading ability. She often struggled with reading tasks and reading and needed extra support and guidance from me. Some of the other students, especially Tom and Jack and Lisa, made fun of her and called her names such as stupid, slow, or dumb. They also laughed at her and at her mistakes and mocked her efforts. They did this in front of the whole class, making Mary feel embarrassed and humiliated. They also excluded her from group activities and social events, making her feel isolated and lonely. To resolve this moral dilemma, I used the 4 steps ethical decision making process proposed by Lincoln and Holmes. The steps are: 1. Recognize the ethical issue. Here, I realized that the bullying and the teasing behavior of some of my students was unethical and that it violated the school's anti-bullying policy. I also recognized that bullying and teasing harmed Mary's well-being, self-esteem, and academic performance, and it also harmed the classroom climate, the learning process, and moral development of all the students. 2. Gather information and identify stakeholders. I gathered information about the bullying and teasing situation and why it was happening. I also identified the stakeholders involved in this dilemma, such as Mary, the bullies, whom were Tom, Jack, and Lisa, myself as the teacher, and other students that bear witness. The school administration, so I had to get the deputy principal involved and the parents. And the reason why I got the parents involved is because of the severity of the situation. I consider their interests, rights, and responsibilities in relation to the issue. This means that I looked at how each of them participated in bullying Mary and also what it meant to them and why they had felt that they needed to do this. So that is what I did when I considered their interest, rights, and their overall responsibilities in relation to the issue. 3, Lincoln and Holmes proposed to evaluate alternative actions. So I evaluated the possible actions that I could take in response to the bullying and teasing situation. And here, 1 is ignoring or minimizing the problem. In this instance, it would mean to avoid confrontation with and conflict with the bullies and their parents. However, it would also fail to protect Mary from further harm and injustice. And it will also send a message that bullying and teasing was acceptable and tolerated in my class, and I did not want that. And another alternative action was punishing and scolding the students, which of course is the one that I chose. This action would deter the bullies from continuing their behavior and show them that there were consequences for their actions. However, it would create some level of resentment and hostility amongst the bullies and their parents. But I was looking at the bigger picture because I knew that with clear communication and understanding, it would help in addressing the issue. And to some level, of course, it will not really address the underlying causes and effects of their bullying and teasing. And that will be up to the parents and the school counselor to further the conversation with the parents to ensure that this behavior stopped. Thank you so much for getting this far with me. And in conclusion, for my current curriculum, both of these philosophies emphasize the importance of learning through experiment, experience, discovery, and social interaction. rather than passively receiving information from the teacher. So in this instance, I do not just give my students instructions, but rather allow for them to take the lead, to try things practically, and to be creative. So it becomes more of a collaborative, project-based learning where I am the facilitator more than giving complete instruction. And this also encourages my students to construct their own knowledge and understanding rather than memorizing facts verbatim.